Talking bonus video for episode 7, partnerships. And this is a great ploy often used by vendors, and it's on its basis, it's a really good one. It's a great thing if you can pull these things off. The problem is too often it's really about just sales and making more sales. It's not truly a partnership. Let me remember to share my screen. I realized last time I didn't really share my screen, but I think my points are simple enough that everyone caught what I was trying to say. So let me bring up that PowerPoint and maximize it. So both parties have to gain value. And I'm going to give you some examples, both good and bad, having done this for many years. As you know, I've been a long time CIO of some pretty cool places, and then also on the vendor side and now on the board side. So I've seen it all, probably. Both parties have to gain value. So when it's done from a strictly sales point of view, it's all about, again, increasing sales. Oh, let's create a partnership, which really means, hey, buy more stuff from us. Oh, and we'll give you a 5% discount, or we'll, give you an upgrade free, or, usually it's something really minor that's given. And it can't be like that. It's got to be truly transformational versus transactional. And that's why there's very few partnerships, if you think about it, in healthcare today, which is sad, because I believe that one of the ways in which we can really accelerate digital transformation is through partnership. It's through vendors coming together with those on the ground doing the work, patient care and loving on families and bringing healing and, all that kind of stuff. It's when those two come together that transformation happens. That's why I'm a huge advocate, and I've always been a huge proponent of partnerships, but it really has to be transformational, not transactional. So the silly example that we gave in the video is definitely a transactional one, but that's the one that's most often used, unfortunately. So what makes a truly transformational partnership? I remember I dealt with this a lot at the Cleveland Clinic because I was really pushing for it, as was my CEO. And we would always wrestle with what does it mean? How do you ensure that it's more than transactional? And so we had a great time putting some stuff together, which have since been executed on, and it's very fun to watch. So there's got to be a shared investment. So I remember the first time it was with, again, I'm not going to name companies because I just feel bad for them. But it's a big company, and we're doing $100 million 10-year partnership. And that sounded great. So at a high level, we were okay, yeah, that's what we want to do. Something big, transformational. And I know for those of you in smaller health systems or smaller vendors, it doesn't have to be that grandiose, but in this case, it was headed that way. So as long as you still have the same principles of partnership, that's what counts. It doesn't matter how big the number. Anyway, we got together, and as we started peeling back the onions or whatever, it was clear that we were putting in 50 million cash, and they were putting in no cash. They're they just kind of attributed how much some people's time was worth at their billable rates, not even what they're paying them, but at 4x their cost, and same with their software. And so it was oh, come on, that's not a partnership. That didn't cost you anything. So we had to go back and sort of redo things. And like I said, today, that particular example, they actually executed something, which is cool. That's what I mean by shared investment. And there's got to be shared reward, not just reward for the vendor who just made a bunch of money and, a long-term relationship, but it's got to be a reward for that health system as well. I've done all sorts of things. Some is just the actual product in itself and getting some of the latest and greatest and being the first. That was reward in and of itself enough. But the more rewards for both sides, the better, the sweeter the deal. Other awards, we created an institute for digital transformation with some of the money that was put aside. For another one, we did hospital floor of the future. So this was a big deal. And, we needed a floor where we were kind of testing out all the new stuff, but it costs a lot of money, right? We didn't have it in our IT budget. So we did this partnership with a big organization, and we cut out some of the funding there to put the latest and greatest. We had a great chief nurse officer, and she was all for it. And it was cool. That's what I'm talking about, rewards and risk too. What if things go south? So it shouldn't be oh, all bad on us as the provider side, but the vendor needs to carry some risk too. But you can't have risk without reward and reward without risk. So that's really important. And again, the investment has got to be real, nothing fake. It's easiest to pull these things off when centered on mutual goals. I'll tell you the best one. It's a little dated, but it's real. The best one I ever did was with CxO. So I got with John Chambers, who at the time was the CEO. So we literally had meetings. So again, I know not everyone, depending on your organization, is going to have the size to get audience with CEOs. Because I've been with Microsoft, I've been with IBM, CxO. I know not Oracle. I know not everyone, depending on your organization, is going to have that same level of clout just by not about me, but about the organization that I happen to represent. So that's okay. You just, take the principles here that we're talking about and apply them and get to the right level of person. And that's really where I'm headed here. It's got to be the right level. And I think I'm going to catch a bullet point a little bit later, more on that. So the mutual goals. So the mutual goal for us, so I took over, I was a young CIO. I can share now who this was because it's such a long time ago. And it's a good story for both sides. Was University Hospitals, took over. It was really bad. Part of the reason we were so bad as IT was there had been underinvestment in the infrastructure for years. And so here we were, wanting to do an EHR and things like that. And there was no infrastructure. And, at the time, VoIP was coming out. It was like a big deal. Well, you use it in other industries, but healthcare, of course, we're so resistant to new things. I mean, can you believe we're still bragging about moving EHRs to the cloud? It's 2023. When I see those headlines, I'm like, are you kidding me? That's newsworthy? That's kind of where we are. But anyways, I digressed. So mutual goals. So for us was really to become leapfrog everything and make these major investments and become the first healthcare organization in the world to be VoIP. Everything, voice over IP, digital, all the stuff, video, telephony, networking, everything over a single network. And of course, we had all the threats and all the people saying, "Oh, you're going to kill people and the systems aren't going to work," and all that kind of stuff. But we knew it was proven in other industries. So, but we got the commitment at the CEO level. But that was the mutual goal, was let's be the first. They wanted to do it because they wanted a marquee health system to be the first. We wanted to do it because we needed the investment. And we got about 80 points off. So what should have cost us $100 million in networking and all the stuff to set that up cost us 25 million, so about 75% points. So it was amazing. They made some money. They probably covered their costs. We went years ahead of everyone else with a fraction of the cost, and then they benefited because now they had a marquee client they could point to. We took reference calls. My CEO was engaged. Again, we're going to come to that. He's engaged. So he's talking to CEOs whenever needed, telling them what a great experience and how great CxO has been. So that's what I'm talking about. So another example, more recently, also someplace where I just left, and so you can read about it in the headlines, is quantum computing. So that's cool, right? Let's do something big. Let's be the first in quantum computing. And again, I know that the subscribers, you come from all sorts of size health systems. So maybe a smaller health system, it's like, hey, first time ever at a critical access hospital. It doesn't have to be a first time event, but I'm just trying to give you some examples. Or maybe it's taken some technology that's been around a while, but using it in a very novel way. So it's just helpful to have these mutual goals because it provides that alignment. We're the first to do this. So these things have to be pretty exclusive. If a vendor has partnerships with everyone, that's not a partnership. Okay, that's just probably just a good vendor relationship. It's great they have all those partnerships, but it's probably not a partnership like I'm talking about. It's like when we talk about mentoring, I say, hey, do you have a mentor? And 8 out of 10 people will raise their hands. And I'll say, no. I mean, do you have someone like you have a regular meeting with, maybe even a contractual arrangement? You've got this defined time and you have defined goals, and then all the hands go down. All right. So partnership, same thing. I probably ask people, hey, how many of you have a partner? And 8 out of 10 will say, yeah, we got a partner in this vendor. And then when I ask them, well, what are the OKRs? What are the KPIs? What's the scorecard? What's the governance? 0, 0, 0, nothing. It's not a partnership. Just telling you like it is. All right. So it should be pretty exclusive. All right. And so a couple of best practices. Have the CEOs involved. Again, I know not everyone's from a giant organization that's going to have that level of influence, but make sure that however high you are in the organization, it is not in sales. Now, I love sales. I love salespeople and sales organizations. Don't get me wrong, but it's got to be outside of sales. Whoever that executive, oversight person is, and you have to have routine meetings. That's what I mean by governance. Routine meetings. And so what we did in some of the examples I was giving you is CEO to CEO once a year, quarterly otherwise. So once a year in person, quarterly otherwise. And what did we look at? The OKRs, objectives and key results. Some people call them KPIs. shared scorecard. Because otherwise, how do you know what you're doing? So if you said, hey, you're going to conquer the world, how do you know? Unless someone's looking at it and measuring it. So that's what a partnership is. So it's a lot deeper. Again, I can just tell you, and I know some of the skepticism, I can feel it, from subscribers saying, oh yeah, we have a partnership with such. I challenge you on that. How many of these things can you say exist in your partnership? And that's where real change happens. That's why I'm so big on this, because I believe that the only way to really leapfrog and where we are today and get to where we really should be, like other industries, is by partnering with vendors to do some amazing things. And hopefully this will help you. Hey, if you have any interest in talking some more, I'm always down for it. I've got an okay website out there called marksadvisory.com. As you know, I've been a longtime CIO. I mentioned that already. And I've been a CxO of vendors and board member of a couple organizations today. So I got a little bit of experience. I understand both sides, been there, done these sort of things. I'm not just a theory guy or person. So if you want more information, marksadvisory.com. And if you want to work together or see if we're compatible, because we may not be, you can fill out an application. So that kind of helps me understand, what your vision is, what you're hoping for. And I'd be happy to explore a partnership with you and see what we can do to improve your experience in the marketplace and do amazing things like this and really transform. So ultimately we save lives and we improve the experiences of our clinicians and our patients and their families.